We are hot on the trail of our first match here in the VCL OQ2 for North America, powered by Zippo. Tenrek and Keg bringing you into the second map played between Core Gaming and Mad Science, coming off of a 13-10 victory for the former on Bind. A hard-fought win, Keg, but the fight is certainly not over.
No, we go into wacky territory now. We get rid of Bind and we go to Icebox, and potentially if we do go to map 3, we have Ascent, but... going back to Bind real quick, it was mostly gunfights that told a story of utility, and we saw a lot of ults, we saw a lot of utility, sure, but a lot of it had to do with just catching the enemy team off guard. I mean, even looking at the Zippo replay, we can see a whole lot of instances of that, just improper timing, positioning, just taking advantage, and even though teleporter plays made an appearance a few different times, but again, gunfights, overwhelmation, and the bottom, maybe not the bottom, but close to the bottom of the tier list was really the utility prowess. As we swap over to Icebox, though, I'm expecting to see a lot more utility be played to have a big impact into a round, but knowing Mad Science too, they themselves have been in that mad scientist lab, Tenrek, and they might be cooking up some weird things.
Yeah, I think a good lesson to learn coming out of this first game is that you can play the clock, but the clock can also 100% play you. And by the end, by, you know, rounds like 20 to 24, I think both teams kind of got the memo and they were like, okay, let's just skip the first 30 seconds here and start actually fighting, which is what we clearly all want to do here. On Icebox, that might not necessarily be the case, but you know, looking at how these teams were able to operate off of those first bloods, which both teams were definitely on the hunt for, it speaks volumes to the motivations of both of these teams and how weirdly similar they became by the end of things, despite the fact that their compositions had huge differences, which makes me really excited, but a little scared to see what Mad Science has, again, obviously, going into map 2, but for Core, it scares me because it shows levels of inconsistency that I didn't think we would see this early in a round of 32.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that too was just trying to prop up Snarly in the early rounds, and I think the first bloods between him and Miniature were very important, but when Snarly was either ignored for the majority of their defensive rounds or just straight up out-fragged the beginning and first blooded against, those were really the rounds that Mad Science shined the most. And I think having that chamber there kind of as a liability at times wasn't the best position for Core to be in. If they move away from chamber in the future, I think there'll be a lot more clean gunfights and a lot more team play going forwards. Not to say that Snarly played bad on their chamber, don't get me wrong, he played fantastically, but again, you have a chamber, his one goal as a Sentinel is just to give yourself as many body advantages as possible. But I don't think we're going to be seeing chamber going into the next map either. We keep hyping up the things that might be cooking up between, well, Mad Science, right? Should we give them a potential sneak peek about what we think we might see?
Well, I mean, look, we're on Icebox. We, you know, there are a couple of blueprints that we know and love. We love them. That these teams can execute, and Mad Science is not one to completely peter from the playbook. I do expect to see some slowdown, and so I do expect to see a swamp comp coming from Mad Science. That, I think, is the baseline for what we need to look for, because again, as they're starting out on attack, they're going to have to play very procedurally in these first 12 rounds to make sure that they can get a finger on the pulse, understand how this core squad is going to operate for the majority of the game, and just get back on that that flow, that momentum that they were able to enter back on Bind. But apart from that, I got no clue, man.
Look, if there's anything I learned from Mr. Funhover over the offseason, is that he is a deadlock aficionado. So it's a bit of a stretch. I think we could see a deadlock here as a great anti-entry option for a map like Icebox. You know, you want to go in fast, you want to take backside control as much as possible. It's not that far different from Bind, except you have a mid this time at least. So a lot of big rotates, a lot of things that need to supplement the rotates. You put down that Viper conditioning wall. Harbor will be great for the early or end rounds to help make sure you have those weird, awkward angles that you're probably not necessarily used to if you're Core. And then when it comes to that final agent, well, I suppose there's the Sova too. You need to bring a Sova, but that final agent, it depends on whether or not they want to bring an entry duelist, because if you bring out the entry, you don't have flashes. And knowing Mad Science, they do like to play Arena too.
Yeah, they have their they have a couple go-tos I think that can fill in this fifth, jigsaw piece. On the other side, Core, they're running an icebox comp. It's going to be Sova, it's going to be KO, it's going to be KJ, it's going to be the Jet, and it's going to be the Omen. We've known this from the jump. We know that this is what Core is going to run. Core knows this is what Core is going to run. Mad Science knows this is what Core is going to run. And starting out on the defense, it raises, I think, more of a question of how Snarly is going to change his playstyle more than anything else. Like you said, coming off the chamber, obviously the weight has not necessarily shifted onto as to how reliant they are on his ability to kind of extend and be that kind of anti-lurk, but I don't know how effective it's going to be, again, in the long run, when Mad Science has been clearly so good at picking up and reading immediately off of Core's strategies. So hopefully Core is able to put a stopper for these first 6 and then actually have to start playing reactively for those retakes, because the longer that they go without Mad Science really understanding what they can do, the longer that Core will prosper.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing about when you bring out a wacky comp on Ascend, right? Big examples are like bringing out a Neon or even a Sage, anything that strays away from the normal default comp of Ascent that we've always seen. If you're going to rock the same comp over and over again, like Core might do here, then Mad Science, again, a team that hasn't really had the footage on this map since March of last year, and maybe bringing out some more unorthodox options, means that not only are you, Core, having to figure out what this team wants to accomplish per round, now you have to think about, okay, how do I get around a deadlock doing that? I'm not used to playing a deadlock in the process. How do I get around the swamp comp? At least the swamp comp is normal-ish. Yeah. But, I mean, that's going to make a lot more layers for Core to work through. They have to make sure they can accomplish what they want to in a round 2, but also make sure that they can make sure, there's a lot of making sure. They want Mad Science to not get anything started. They want that lab to be torn down. They don't want anything to happen.
Yeah, they don't want any R&D going to this lab. They don't want no
more
grants. No grants. But I think that a big factor that comes into, again, how heavily Matt is going to be able to respond is how heavily they dip into resources at first. And with Miniature on the Reyna, it's clear that they don't want to early on. If they did have the deadlock, then I would say absolutely they're going to toss so many smokes. Funhaver's going to use his entire kit before they even get on site. Now, though, it's going to be much more step by step. Now it's going to be Miniature is going to toss himself out. The rest of the team is going to follow suit. They are going to launch their resources when they get on in order to hold on to site long enough for them to get back off of it and play for the post plan.
Yeah, so I guess a little bit of background knowledge too is that originally this was supposed to be Deadlock instead of One Snipe bringing out the KJ here, but they swapped at the last second. That being said, though, still the Reyna is an interesting choice. If anyone remembers from way back in early 21, we saw a lot of Reynas on this map, and it worked out well for the global flash. Otherwise, though, Swamp Comp being brought up by Mad Science is definitely the more interesting aspect of this composition. If we don't have the Deadlock, the flash works perfectly well to bypass Viper walls, Harbor walls, all of that, without really much punishment. And that's going to be a big struggle for Core. The only flash they have as a team right now is the paranoia of the Omen. So something like A site, that can work out well. But B site, where it's super open and a lot of teams whittle down that utility before they plant on the attacking side, won't necessarily be as much of an option here. And Mad Science, they fully recognize that. They got the Harbor walls. They want B site real bad for round 1.
Dead set. And so they'll start launching. Zeldris, early seat to it in the cubby. We'll dip out after a little too much noise is made. Hand a bit over to Mad Science, and that's going to be the MO of a lot of this back and forth, at least in the early stages of the round. Is just getting your shots in and then ducking back when you're out of util so the next person can throw all of theirs. Mad Science going to do the exact same thing on the attack, just the shuffle with whoever has the most in the pocket. And right now, I believe that is Mr. Funhaver, who is going to actually take Spike and back out with the remainder of the team who has already used a lot of their stuff in order to have a better presence on this A site. The Miniature is now scoped out. Yeah,
Mad Science, they put that pressure on B site. They haven't been spotted on A at all just yet. This is all a big tricking game against Core for Miniature to gain as much space as possible and to hopefully bait out rotates for the defense of the B site. Not gonna work. Timing's taken so long that everyone's well aware by now.
Yeah, pretty clear what they're going for, and first Lear out will net Miniature the first kill, and the site for Mad Science, which means they can
30 seconds
go ahead and set up
left.
shop after those shock darts are expended. It's all about scoping out the rest of the site, and with the rest of the team here, it's going to be a little bit easier to do. Miniature can hold the site, though. And so Nerve is able to get that opener, let the rest of Core hop down, but how much ground are they able to actually clear? The high ground, something that they can't necessarily pay that much attention to, and now one snipe, but the long range is the only real threat left. Nerve is able to 1v1 that and win out the duels, enough for Core to grab the first round with 2 standing.
I really like the idea of Mad just trying to keep Core on their toes with this big, grandiose display outside of B, while having a small little lurk towards A site to try to gain that space back. And this is pretty common for a lot of pistol rounds on Icebox. We see that small leverage trying to be gained outside of A, because a lot of defensive teams will over-rotate on Icebox, whether that be due to uncomfortability, whether that be just make sure they have the most amount of space to deny the B site plant. There's a lot of different reasons defenders do that. But Core, they trust the team. They trust the process. They're not going to over-rotate from here. And that's going to mean Mad now. They're like, okay, well, we got some space on B site last round. Let's try it again.
So they will. Recon bolt. 1 bounce this time. We're mixing it up.
1 hop this time.
We're crazy.
Does Atlas slide to the left? It's silent, though. Nerve is out in the open. Remember, too, Flash is available for Miniature, not available for Core. Nerve has to be so careful about that line of sight denial.
Tossing out the first bite. Knows that they've taken the majority of yellow now. Spraying and praying, seeing what damage you can find. Decent amount, but no kills confirmed. Zeldris is taking a spot up, though, from Tube, and is now able to kind of wander a bit onto site wantonly. He's actually going to get much closer than I think he intended to at first. Yeah, going to go ahead and circle around the back to maybe grab one more with this Outlaw that is already finding a lot of engagement here in round 2.
Oh, that owl drone on the minimap, downside mid.
Oh, yeah.
It spots out the lurk. One snipe was supposed to be that saving grace.
And now it's got to be Miniature, who is able to at least finish off Zeldris with the body tap. But still so much distance to crack, and with Core having all of his natural cover, it shouldn't be too difficult for them to just play keep away. But now one snipe has gone on. The owl drone only let everyone know, but it didn't really keep one snipe away. He just still decided to press
double down.
Spike down.
They will let Snarly at the issue, and we'll be able to take care of it enough for the rest of Core to just collapse on what Mad has left, which isn't much, admittedly. So they'll grab their second round with 4 standing.
This is going to be tough for an attacking side for Mad. Their entire team lineup right now, I would argue, is purely for defense. The main reason why I say this is that Mad do not have an entry duelist.
Nope.
Now, do you need one for Icebox?
No.
Yeah, no, but it makes things a lot easier. You're able to just gain that distance pass, then allow the controllers to find a little bit more action directly onto the site. Instead, Mad have to go for this army approach. They need to be in platoons of 2 or 3 at a time to push on forwards to just tank fights and gain space back. It's not like Zeldris is going to make sure that doesn't happen, though. At least in theory. Spike is still down. Potato's just waiting. Oh? Whew. A bad case of the timings for everybody there.
Yeah, we've had some troubles in general, I think. You know, first game jitters, I guess, for the tournament. You know, you're in the double elim setting. It really starts to set in at this point, just how, like, tight it is. 2 teams out of this entire tournament make it. And,
yeah.
I mean, that is the decision for the rest of the year. Rest of you mitigated the gauntlets. It's slim pickings for what we have left, and so much talent among this pool. Core's got to be feeling the pressure. Mad Science has got to be feeling the pressure. Zeldris able to win out that first duel against Miniature and keep that
still a
Outlaw
default
up. Yeah, it's still like just a full, not foot to the floor, but just very standard push by Mad so far to see what they can get. But Core not handing anything over so far.
Ooh.
The greed is completely left the chat.
Oh, I don't like this. That spike is not anywhere near close to sight anymore. 25 seconds left on the clock. This surely can't be a 4-person save, and there's not enough time to rotate back over. It seems like Mad have realized this now. They were relying so much on this mid-rotate space to help secure B-site, and no, timing was a little off there. Zeldris is there to save the day, okay. 10 seconds. Can you get that spike down?
I don't think you have the time. Atlas is...
You do?
Oh, wow. Yeah, Atlas is going to be able to stick it here, but alone, and yeah, I mean, not even able to get up before it's done. Simply not enough time. And QOR, it takes a couple bodies. Ultimately, Mad does fight it out, but too little, too late, too much that QOR has. And now, 3-0 for QOR Gaming. Big jump for them.
That was an important round for Matt, too. They really needed to keep those guns alive and secure it all.
At that point, it might have been better to save, honestly.
Yeah, I was thinking...
You just go back to T?
Yeah, I was thinking fully like, okay, a 4-person save's odd, but it would be beneficial. But they double down, and, you know, props to Mads for going for that. They attempted to get that spike down. They got a little bit of extra money in the process, but A site's been a site that's been barely touched until the final seconds of a round. And on a save round like this, it's important to see, like, okay, well, what's going on here? Except they don't realize that Zeldris isn't even in God spot. He's in ultimate super God spot.
Wow. Very WK Gaming. You love to see that from Zeldris out the gate. And he's thirsty for more. Toxic screen goes up as a final curtain call for the Jet to grab a second. And the rest of Mad screaming onto site, probably literally in comms at that stage, just because there is nothing you can do. An entourage towards the funnel that Snarly will nail into. And QOR up to 4 now. Very clean so far. Very good denial. And no notes.
Yeah, but for Matt, I'm sure they have plenty of notes.
Surely.
Timeout? No, they may be waiting for maybe 5-0. I mean, I don't want to be a negative Nelly here, but things haven't looked good from the get-go for Mad with this comp. They have a lot of potential, don't get me wrong, but Zeldris again, just treating A-site like the gym right now, just able to go wherever they want. That's a hard thing to counter with the comp that Mad Science is bringing out here. Oh, never mind!
Zeldris gets even more aggressive, and Miniature is going to be able to shut it down. So they have free control over this high ground, and Snarly cannot look two ways at once. Reckoning tossed onto an open season A site, and Mad Science may have turned things around. T-Dog only good for the one. And indeed, Mad can clear the board. Ziv still playing from the maps, is able to at least get rid of Atlas, and still stares up into Potato. The timing is immense! The Snakebite can at least trade that away, but it's a 1v1 for the ages that Miniature has to hold on to, as Spike is still not taken from this high ground. It's going to take a hot minute for him to at least get even that, so feels like Miniature would rather just take this fight. So would Nerve, holding on to this Odin, only one peek at a time, and so he'll take a more conservative position, one that doesn't leave him open to this flank from the low ground, where Miniature has so many ways to approach. Headshot pre-fire, just knowing that this is probably where Nerve is, and to an extent he's right, but with what gun? Nerve understanding that there are only so many ways in which you're able to hold this, and so choosing to hold for the long haul. Instead, Miniature, again, understanding that now, with this spike in hand, you have to bait so much. You have no idea what you're walking into. Nerve, crucial couple steps out. The timing is huge, and this shots are heard off the Odin. Nerve has been spotted out. 20 seconds to go. It's not safe to peek. This Miniature will at least get spiked down and have a couple more seconds of solace. Another early peek here. Nerve able to round the bend. Now is he inside? That's the big question. It is answered in kind. Miniature still up and running, still able to skirt most of these shots, and now it's Nerve who has to do the talking. So Miniature will take the step back. Miniature will play safer and know that Nerve is the one that has to tap first once, and not up in time. Perfect timing for Miniature this time. And Mad Science takes their first round of the game.
Man, what a way to divide and conquer for your Miniature there. A lot of opportunities. Had Nerve been a little bit more aggressive to just shoot through the majority of the walls on Icebox, that Odin to find so much more potential. The Miniature knew exactly which angles to hold, and finding out just small pieces of audio about where Nerve could be in the finale. Huge. This is an important round 2 for Mad. They've struggled to get on B side consistently without losing bodies. The timing of Mad from B main and their small squad taking mid has been completely off. This needs to be the round where the timing is on point, but they negate mid again. It looked like they were going to go for it, but now instead there's that pressure on A. Does this mean that A will be the final point? We'll have to wait and see.
5 knives burned by Zeldris to get the intel of where the majority of the squad is, and T-Dog reactively is going to toss a Hunter's Fury into the majority of the aisle to deal some chip to some of these players. Funhaver's down to a measly 25, and now Zeldris back on the operator is able to farm out the rest. This is a good start for Core on the round, but still has to give a lot of space away given that Zeldris is just holding on to that operator and Nerve is all the way back in Snowman. So Mad ultimately still have a couple ways in. None the least is this double wall that the Swamp Cop has just been begging on their knees to set up this entire attack so far. But they won't get to for long. Funhaver shut down by T-Dog, who is now rounded back to the midline of B-Site, and Core should be able to set up shop for the remainder of this round. Mad Science have no clean way in. If only they were able to get onto A-Site, which, you know, with 35 seconds left on the clock, I don't think that's an opportunity that they can really call their own at this point, but with one snipe and Atlas winning their duels, maybe they can. T-Dog manifests Atlas's head, sees it, spots it, kills it. One snipe now, the only one left. But here comes the flank, the ultimate flank from Potato onto Snowman. Snarly the first to go, given away. And now you have the pinch. 15 seconds on the clock, though. Mad Science has to make this work, and they got to do it quick with a spike stranded. And Sif back in the kitchen. The anti-flank's enough, and no more duels won by Mad Science. Cores up to 5.
I was really wondering what Potato was conjuring up into that round. I mean, yeah, you were waiting for the rotates out of A-Site, going for this gigantic flank, but Mad, they tripled down on B-Site when they had plenty of opportunities to escape around that. They didn't really get much space in. Being eliminated one by one, losing your controllers, the Harbor being gone, the Reyna eliminated, line of sight denial very sparse outside of your flanker, needing those calls to lift up the wall. Not the play. And again, I thought for sure we would see that split push into mid that at least could have maybe opened up the round a little bit more for Mad. But this is the chance for those changes to be made. The timeout was called by Mad. They had every chance in the world to bring things 5-5. I want to see more mid action coming out from mid. They have the opportunities to shut down that KJ turret early on. They could contest and dry peek 50-50 boiler right off the rip and maybe just gain full control for those rotates that they love to take advantage of. But again, Cedric, it's a lot easier said than done. Matt has to do it on a squad without an entry duelist. They can't squander numbers away either.
It's such a tough conversation to have of like, which fight are we more capable of maybe not losing? That's a really hard place to be in, regardless of what round you're on, which Mad Science are not on the best one. But to
this is a read.
To just completely run out from mid is a coin toss that it seems like Mad Science is really not ready for. They think their chances are still better on these front lines, which
they have a poison cloud for that though.
I mean, at this point, it might just be better for the gamble because Zeldris is just gonna do this over and over again. And goodbye, Mr. Funhaver. Core, again, everything they need in the right place at the right time just because Mad is not going to the other places.
I mean, this is a great read, right? Every thrifty round we've seen from Mad, they fast approach H-Site, and Zeldris gets the same opening pick, I think against the same person in the same position every round. It's not rocket science. It's just Zeldris on an operator. Now T-Dog on a rampage. Cleanup crew before, again, Mad can even get a word in edgewise. And the timeout certainly not called for the previous round, but this one now where the ult bank is here, the guns are here, Mad is where? A-Site again, Core? No, I like this play.
I mean, I don't think Zeldris is going to get that aggressive again. He knows that, you know, the subsequent rounds, Mad Science has been, like, super ready for it. So they'll at least get, like, the bottlenose. But what happens after that, man?
I mean, all these ultimates here, right? You're probably going to use all 4 this round. I wouldn't be too surprised. Lockdown, the Viper's Pit, not even that. The Hunter's Fury, potentially early on. Okay, well, maybe no Empress, but the 3 impactful ults can still be used.
Yeah, especially with the intel gain. That's good intimidation, Zeldris. Still has high ground, though, and now a spike that is really hard to reach if you're Mad Science. So now it's Core's turn to toss everything. They know this is their one shot to just absolutely collapse. No second chances allowed for Mad Science. There are no do-overs. This is not an experiment. This is insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again. And Mad are not given a chance to switch it up this time. 7-1 for Core.
I'll give Mad the benefit of the doubt from that last round. They did switch it up. They went fast in. They had the potential to bring out their ultimates, challenge Zeldris directly. But Mini, the first to fall, you lose Potato right after. I mean, it is like having a spear without the sharpened tip and without the stick. You lose out on the round almost instantly. You have no space creation here. And I keep mentioning that, and it's so tough to get onto a map like Icebox, where it's just such close condensed corners on A site and wide open space on B. You really need a Jet or a Neon or a Raze or something.
Find it.
Oh,
okay, a good start.
T-Dog. Yeah, that's a great punish. Again, one that's early. That's what Mad Science has been good at. Zeldris, ethereal whiff. I mean, that's pixels,
It happens to the
bro.
best of us.
But Mad have the sight, Mad have miniature on the line, and finally getting to pop that Empress. He is just overjoyed about that. Nerve does not have time to hop back on before this lockdown is procced, so we'll have to at least wait that out as the spike will get planted here. Eventually. Here you go, buddy. All right, yeah, they're just gonna guarantee. They really don't want Nerve to have a pop-off moment here, but they know where he's at. Know that they have the pit, so have to early watch this as well. That's why Miniature is right there, ready and waiting for Mad Science to get their second round win, one that is clean enough to actually get them started here in the attacking half.
And that was what the tack timeout was about, was to accomplish this round, use the majority of your ults, take it back, get that spike down, remove Zeldris away, maybe gain that off if possible, but even then, just Mini staying alive, being able to pretty much accomplish what Zeldris would do, but on the attacking side, absolutely necessary that next round, as long as they weren't shut down early. Now this could be the round to change it up. I love where Mad are playing this time. They have that lurk on A. They can use the harbor wall to fake it out. Poison Cloud goes down. They challenge the 50-50 top boiler. This is where you take B mid. No, they're going to A.
Wow.
Oh,
they're
okay.
They're just gonna full send this.
I like this.
And it's going to lead to Miniature grabbing the first blood, but not every angle getting cleared. Zip and Zeldris are still uncontested, each getting two. And the cleanup once again comes from beyond the tube. Core, this time their pinch is lightning fast, and Mad will pay the ultimate price for it.
I love what Mad wanted to do
Yeah.
again in this round. Instead of going from mid to B like most teams would, they went mid, challenge boiler, then pushed beyond into trying to take out the back lanes of A site for the full take, but no, not quite. I did like that prowess though. Changing up Icebox and not making it rotate simulator is so fascinating to me. And I'm glad to see it back in the move pool with people really dissecting the map apart and doing new things. Fortunately though, not the best situation in the world when it came to Mad Science that last round, but maybe we could see mid to B this time with more success.
They're just Mad was just so mad that Zeldris was not.
I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I think they were
Like-
mad at Zeldris in general.
Yeah, no, I mean they're generally, I think, a little pissed, but definitely hurts to see a push that again, like you said, was just so different and very
was cool.
smart by Mad Science. I love a good boiler push, and I love a good snake to A maps. I adore that, but the one time that Zeldris decides to play all the way back with a sniper is the time that they decide to do that. So unfortunate.
I mean, we got to give credit to Ziff. Yeah, we got to give credit to Ziff too, though, because without his nano swarms, I think someone like Mini would have taken more distance and made it to maps.
Yeah, they could have still played boiler, maybe hop back on a nerve and then gone under tube to B site if not for those mollies. That was
there was a lot of
really good split,
rotatability
for sure. Yeah,
I
definitely
mean,
a lot of moving parts here for Core. And Mad Science, I don't think they're prepped to kind of handle all. They're trying to take this one at a time, and their rotation is too large. I mean, it's Icebox. Your rotation is always too long, but.
Well, that's why my argument here is that I think Mad Science is really prepping up this team comp for the defense. I think Miniature will have a lot more opportunities to be flexible with those rotates, pushing out. The double walls, especially Mr. Fun Havers, could catch Core off guard. There is a lot of potential still this game for Mad Science. We can't discount them just yet. But for the attacking side, it's a long road ahead. Okay, hold on. Maybe the road got a shortcut. That's good. Snarly's gone.
Again, that's like the fourth time that Snarly's done that too. It's just great pickups from Mad Science. It's like a Telltale game, just getting just little bits of intel.
Rest in peace.
Sorry, was that that hurt a little bit?
I never played any of them, to be honest.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, I'm glad you're fine.
Look at this Viper wall though. It's pushed so early on back, it's gonna make things tough for at least that initial push. Owldrome was out, general timing and spacing is there. Zeldris again, the raid boss behind A site. Even if Zeldris misses a shot, look at where T-Dog is. Easy swing potential off of Nest.
Yeah, you can't even W key this. You have have to block out T-Dog first, and it's just so hard to do that.
They block out
especially
Zeldris instead.
when you only have one leader. Yeah, they'll get rid of the operator, and now T-Dog is the one who gets to step up. And Zeldris will just reposition in time to grab the second pick anyway. And we're back to business, people. QOR is just back in form. One more leader to block out Zeldris to at least the steps, though, so maybe they can grab tight, if not for the rest of QOR, who has now made it back. Potato choosing to toss in that Viper's Pit. Relative position known, but not enough to grab the kill, which means that Mad Science can tap the spike once, twice. Potato immediately read by Zeldris. The audio cue more than enough, and one snipe boxed out. QOR up 9-2.
I mean, I'm happy Mad are trying to change up the spacing and the tempo a little bit more, but it does get to those points again where it's like, okay, well, what's next, right? I mean, there's one more round left in this half. Mad are doubling. I mean, look, at this point, it's like quadrupling down on A site yet again. This is the basis of their entire timeout. Now, to be fair, the first, one of the first rounds we had seen Mad get close to winning on A site was off of the Reckoning from Mr. Funhaver. So this is good to see. Early Reckoning with the judge should be finding a ton of info.
I suggest you move.
Oh, wow. All right, yeah. They're just going to hold it down. Zell just going to hold the line and drops a little too early off of the knives, so Potato will stay standing. Reckoning is expired, though, and we're still not on. Snarly, I don't know if they know. They don't! Just comes up from the water wall! And it's a complete shutdown yet again! Nothing doing on the front line. Again, one lone check that can dictate everybody else's crossfires, and QOR so stalwart the whole way through. 3 rounds out from making it to the 16.
Now, look, I'm no science man, but this is where we put the theory to the test. Can Mad Science compete purely for the defensive plays? I'm looking at Mini almost the entirety of this half. As long as Mini can be activated similar to what QOR did for Snarly on Bind last map, I think this could become an even game. Is it a long road ahead? Yeah, it is, but what's the fun of not having a long road ahead, right? There's no fun in getting the easy way out. Mad have the chance to do this, but if they lose this pistol round, their series could very well be over.
Well, Miniature is going to have some help from Mr. Funhaver, who did manage to get a kill last round. Let's go, dude.
Oh, Mini. Pressured out early. One leader to work with.
Ziff opening shots, Paranoia, that might be the ticket. Yeah, QOR is going to let everything fly, but Miniature avoided most of it. Is able to get the opening, now second! And ducks back into the cove. Mr. Funhaver's going to take the reins. That's such a great switch-off shuffle from Mad Science to get things started. Now QOR is so scared to step into this territory. They have no real way of opening. Paranoia is gone. And you don't have any way of really clearing the steps either. You have to play with the mollies to flush out from maps and steps. And even then, you have all of Hell to check. You have all of Heaven to check, which QOR admittedly is slowly doing, but there's such a presence at this stage. Everybody knows where this fight's gonna be, and Ziff faces an audience, can only grab one out of it. Atlas free to re-peek after the plant goes down, and Snarly has been found out. Very clean to start here from Mad Science.
Huge shutdown again, and I think this duality that we'll see from Mini and Mr. Funhaver is going to be paramount to the success of Mad. Again, you have Mini, a Reyna who isn't bound to any utility. Your Reyna can do whatever they want. As long as they're getting kills, they are doing their job. 11 to 10, perfect procedure for Mini. Mr. Funhaver, yeah, I mean, look, not the best KD in the world, but as long as he can start bringing out the cascades and bring out the high tides to help Mini take extra space, that's going to be gigantic for Mad Science. But the ball can also be in QOR's court right now. They are force buying. They have the rounds to do it. They're looking to divvy up a little bit more towards B and A side again. Now, there is that smoke in mid. That could be huge and be a telltale sign for Mad to be like, okay, well, maybe there is that extra pressure. Not the case just yet. Instead, it's that slow lurk over towards A site as Zeldris is making a lot of noise on B and forcing out these over rotates.
There's so much commitment immediately to just Zeldris, and everybody from Mad Science is expecting everyone else to crunch, but Zeldris
no way,
is on a
man.
stealth mission, and with the other side's orb is able to actually skirt the sight line, almost a flick on an Atlas for kill number 2, but it's just enough to let A-Site get completely opened up for Core and give them a 4v4 that they're more than happy with. That's such a great start here from Zeldris. We'll see what they can turn it into. His miniature is already back to play, but with the help of the Owl Drone, he'll have to back out too. So far, so perfect for Core.
I'm looking at Potato, though. Keep an eye on them later into this round. Oh, no, never mind. Not going to be the flank anymore. Big collapse potential here. Weapon advantage, though, in Mad's favor. Keep an eye on that. They have to play close and condensed if you're Core.
What a read
Lineups.
for Mini.
Oh, Nerve has to save the day here. Ziff has mollies, too. Shock bolts enabled by T-Dog.
Yeah, Nerve is just holding this. And Mad have to enter. It's going to be Mini first, obviously. First opening pick. Potato going for the first tap, and there's a second snakebite available. Atlas is not going to have the time, especially when Nerve can deal the last bit of damage. Mad Science misses the boat, and all of their guns. 11-3 now for Core.
It's going to be tough to play retakes if you're Mad. You have 6 pieces of utility to watch out for, any of which could, depending on how far into the round you are, instantly kill you. Plus, not to mention, let's say Nerve gets that Poison Cloud down directly onto the spike and adds that extra decay damage. That's going to be very tough. Mad now. Stacking up on B once more. Never going to over-rotate again if I'm willing to bet. 11-3. Still teetering the line. The buy's not looking great for Mad here. They're looking to play for this potential final round to get that force buy up. T-Dog. Good Owl Drone to start things off. Didn't clear out yellow. Keep that in mind. Snarly still needs to clear. Everyone else on Mad back far away beyond this Viper wall, trying to remain hidden in their presence, waiting for audio cues.
Just going to be able to try swing this entire half. Board is split, just like they want. But Atlas again, popping out from the doldrums of it to grab a first pick out of the blue. Core can refrag pretty easily, though, and with the gun dip, it should be pretty easy from there, indeed. Everybody on Core is able to get onto site. Snarly able to round out the pack and deal with the rest of the competition. Miniature has a Guardian in hand in order to play this 1v4 out to the best of his ability, although
Does
I don't
have
know
Empress,
if there
though.
is any. Yeah, you're able, I mean, yeah, and I don't know if you have access to a gun. I don't think you do, so you just gotta play for the headshots, which
Empress
is pretty good at hitting, so there's one, but yeah, Snarly finds the off angle, just refrags it. Enough resources for Core to work with, and sitting on 9 rounds of match point now.
Yeah, that's a tough position to be in, because if you were a Miniature there, you get that opening pick, you enable Empress, you get the heals and the invisible TP around, you may have had the opportunity to just isolate more fights and take it back, but time on the clock, you're down so many rounds, probably not in the forefront of your mind in a 1vx situation like that. This is it, though, potentially for the series. Core 1 round away from moving on forwards, closer and closer to potentially qualifying for VCL. They're just 1 away. They've been dominant on this map. But Mad, they have their rifles here, potentially for the last time. They need that opening pick. Look how far up and aggressive they are being. They're looking for that opening pick, especially if it's someone like Zeldris.
So Miniature has to be so disciplined in the meantime. Can't hold that line. And Core see that as their way in. Now it's just a sense of, again, finding whatever's in front of you. And so far, that's just 1 snipe. 3 to go. As Mad Science will come careening back to A-Site. Spike ticking down, and Ziff is already hungry. They're already peeking out. They just want to get this over and done with. And in a couple seconds, it looks like they will. Funhaver is revealed. Zeldris is going to really hunt that down. Oh, Funhaver. I mean, living up to the namesake, it's T-Dog that finds the credit, and Core that puts on a stellar performance here on Icebox to save face and round out a 2-0 victory here in the round of 32.
I mean, again, without having much footage to watch off of, Core again just had a great clinical performance on Icebox. You know, again, the space creation from Zeldris, the op shots, and just the verticality that you have with Jet on this map cannot be matched. I love the fact that Core tried different things. They changed their pacing up. They took extra space. They made sure, again, a team that likes to play a little bit more reactive rather than proactive. Mad Science struggled on this map. They looked great on Bind, but on Icebox, they were clearly outmatched, and for a team that hadn't really had a performance on this map since March of last year, on a almost completely different roster, no less, yeah, it kind of shows.
It really hurts, because you know that, the second we saw Miniature getting enabled in a lot of these rounds, which is so what Icebox is hell-bent on, is just enabling your duelist with, the swamp comp that you got. Miniature did incredibly and put on a really great performance whenever, he got into inside sight, but Core just had such great control over not letting those enablers get any farther than Miniature did. And from there, it's collapse after collapse. Mad Science, they had good denial on their defense. They were able to, again, just go blow for blow at the very least. But a little more map knowledge, a little more, I would say, cohesion,
comfortability
for the core squad. Yeah, just comfort played a huge role here. It's undeniably Core's game and undeniably Zeldris' MVP title. I mean, man, he had so many rounds where he was just allowed to go crazy.
I mean, 333 ACS is nothing to scoff at, but going back to what you said before, Tenrek, Miniature played really, really well given the circumstances. I was really impressed with what the Reyna could bring out. Again, you're not bogged down to utility, you're not tied to a site, so Miniature having that flexibility and being able to be activated, whether it be early round and all the way through the end of the round, really gave him those chances to help bring things back. But at the odds of bringing it back in an end round where you're in a 1v4, it's really hard to say, yeah, I can do that, yeah, I can't do that. But again, super impressive, but unfortunately not the best scoreline in the world when it came to Mad Science. They got to go back to the lab, and Core, well, they're going to keep on moving forward.
Yeah, neither of these teams have much time to really recover, though. As Mad Science, they will go directly into the first round of the losers bracket, playing in sudden death with a couple of teams that have already made it there. Meanwhile, Core Gaming, they'll have an even tougher opponent, either Burgerville or Resonate, both teams that have also put on incredible performances so far through this OQ and through this offseason. So a lot for these teams to still do, a lot for this broadcast to still do, as we have 2 more matches we'll get to go through. Keg and I going to take a back seat here as Gompers and Marks are going to come take the spotlights for this next match. We are excited to have a watch, as we hope you are too. We'll see you in a couple minutes with that.